So I'd like to welcome our guest speakers today, Jason and Brian. Please come up. Yay! Yay! Hey guys, how you doing?
Good to see you. Thank you.
Hey.
Thanks for
Okay,
having
guys,
us
come on in. So we have a few people online. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them.
Nice.
And then we have these people here. So please, I will put this into slide mode. And here is the clicker.
Cool. Brian, who's that?
Brian, you are the clicker man.
Yeah.
All right, guys, go ahead.
Thanks for having us here. We've known Peter for a long time. This guy is ridiculous. He's like, we think we're kind of cool. When you talk to this guy, and you're like, man, he blows your mind every time you talk to him. So you're lucky to have him here for sure. I'm Jason, founder of Testimonial Tree, and Brian, and introduce yourself over here.
Yeah, I'm Brian Shadell. I work with Jason. We're a software company right here in Southwest Florida. And if you guys have ever, by show of hands, have you guys ever used a review to get feedback about something before you've purchased it? So that's what our software does. So we'll talk a little bit. We'll do some introductions. I think Jason would be useful to share kind of how you came up with it,
Okay.
and then how it can apply to pretty much any business, I think.
Yeah, so my background is computer engineering. I'm old, I graduated in 2000, but I sold real estate for a few years. My wife, when I had our first baby in 08, and I was like, I got my real estate license to help you. She's a realtor. So I got doing open houses and got into real estate, helping with that, which is the opposite of tech. So it's like tech is all about scale, basically, and like trying to like do one to many. Real estate's like one to one. You got one person in your car for like days sometimes. So it was kind of cool actually. But I always had this tech background. I ended up having this one guy flying to Marco Island, and he flew on a private jet, flew out the same day and bought a $4.5 million house. And I'm like, dude, I love this guy. He's the best ever. How do I get in front of his friends? So Sioux Falls, you can't legally market in other states when you're licensed in a different state. So I had to like figure out, how do I get him to tell his friends about me? I thought, well, maybe social media. Maybe he'll share something on social media with his buddies. So I was like, what's he gonna share? Well, maybe a testimonial. So I tried to find something that just prompted someone to give a testimonial and then get them to share it, knowing all the things you just said. It's like social proof, and it's like, credible. And couldn't find it, so I had to build a little, what they call an MVP. Probably talked about MVPs, minimum viable product, like just the basics. And it worked really well. And so I started, I did it, and I told a friend of mine who was the CTO of Michael Saunders and Company, which is another brokerage, real estate brokerage up in Sarasota. He's like, dude, if you make this a product, we'll pay you for it. So I incorporated it in 13, and they're my first customer, still my customer today. John R. Wood down here became a customer, another brokerage over here. And then like a few months later, this group out of Chicago was like, hey man, we want to do a deal with you. So they did an exclusive deal with me to resell my product. They flew me to Chicago. Worked really well. They invested $1.25 million in us in 16, and now we're the biggest in the country. We have like 100. Actually, I just learned today 190,000 agents in America. Well, in Australia and Canada too, I guess. So every time there's a real estate transaction in these groups for John R. Wood or whoever, we automate the feedback request, which is like a survey with a testimonial built in. We'll syndicate it to their website, different places. Realtor.com, for example, and then you can as the agent gets it, they can share it on social media. Their managers can. So it's a way to kind of maximize the value of this customer story, basically. So it's the best life testimonial. So we have like 2.6 million testimonials in there, mostly from real estate. Another company you may have heard of is Badcock Furniture. They're a customer of ours too. We do healthcare. We do some retail, insurance, mostly real estate though. So we're a tech SaaS company, software as a service. Not huge, but we're in our space we're big. So
Yes, I think what we'll do a little bit too is talk a little bit about like how to incorporate testimonials into your business, right? Like I think of like you were talking about the marketing funnel, right? Like when people are considering buying your solution or your service or your product, there's certain points of when feedback from influential people will help you get more, I would say more traction, higher conversion rates, things like that. So testimonials in general will help with that, and it encompasses everything, right? From the customer feedback to a review online, to a case study, a white paper, all those things. So depending on the type of business that you've either started or considering to start, there's different parts that you can do that in there. So I came from a technology and research kind of a leadership, I'd say, background where we did coaching for people. So if you guys have heard of Gartner, they're here in Fort Myers. They're a global tech and research company. And a lot of these things that Jason was kind of talking about at the time back in 2013, this space was taking off. And so you take of that word of mouth referral from your neighbor for a product you may be using, and now you're taking it online. So that's all we've done is kind of take it online. There's lots of places that you can use feedback, and there's things like getting employee feedback, right? There's customer feedback, there's partner feedback, product feedback. So there's different types of feedback that'll be useful depending on your business. But what we know is that people trust referrals. So if you have enough reviews, that are pretty recent, they're more likely to trust that that's the experience they're going to have. So and it really makes a big difference if you're in a service-based business, because it's all about the relationship and the build of trust, right? That's really what a lot of this feedback is for. The user-generated content things you're talking around blogs, white papers, all of these things are built to help you, I would say, kind of extend your sales capabilities. So one thing that we did early on, right, we were selling to real estate brokerages as an example, and we got into these networks of groups. So large independent-owned brokerages, Coldwell Banker as a franchise, Berkshire Hathaway as a franchise. And there's things that you can do around this user-generated content to help you scale into a group. So early on, we worked with a Coldwell Banker. We had no customers in that group. It was a much harder job to sell into those folks that own those real estate brokerages. And then once we got one of the influencer customers, it basically propelled us forward really fast. So we signed 30, 40 brokerages up at a time. And a lot of that was identifying who are influencers that you can identify in your industry or your category, win those folks as customers, and then the other folks will follow. So, and some things that you mentioned, like Nike's thing, right? What separates you from others? Your values, right? What you stand for, the reputation you're trying to build online or in person. And so that's where a lot of these things can come in, where people are saying things about you. So it's funny you had that part up there. Media.
Look at that.
So then, Jason, if you want to talk about different things where you can incorporate the feedback.
I will say one thing, if you're not doing blogs, like, you don't know what ChatGPT is. Because, like, it's like you can write a blog in like 2 seconds. Like, in fact, I should read this. Actually, before this, I said, ChatGPT, write me a speech about the value of testimonials in business to an audience of entrepreneurs in the voice of Martin Luther King Jr. And I read it and I was like, this is like really inspirational. That was pretty cool. So you can, we write, in full disclosure, some of the blogs we have, we'll just like put that topics in, we'll tweak them. But if you ever use it, it takes like 2 seconds. But in general, this earned media, the way we build our business up, for the most part, what Brian was saying is, we start at the grassroots. It could be an agent, it could be a team, whatever. We get some relationship. We make them happy, then they introduce us to the broker, who introduces us to their manager or whatever, and then it goes all the way to the food chain until we win the corporate. Because you can't win the corporate deal without getting enough traction here. So that's kind of how we built the whole thing. All of that basically is earned. We don't really do a lot of marketing. We don't have a big marketing budget. We don't really. Brian's really our only sales guy, and me. But again, we leave the country just by planting these seeds and making people happy. So everything we've done pretty much is earned. We do events and there's relationships there, but pretty much any place these testimonials can be used and increases conversion rates. It's one thing if you say I'm the best, whatever. It's something totally different if someone else says that. So
do you guys track your Net Promoter Score?
Yeah, we do. So built into the platform, we have customer satisfaction surveys. We have Net Promoter Score surveys. So we survey our customers as well. And a lot of that is really to identify, if I have a customer, you were talking about the most expensive part is like bringing on a new customer, right? And so our whole business is built around how can I build a recurring revenue stream of happy customers who refer me other customers. And as you build that network effect, the retention will be there. So it's really helped us grow from literally, you know, we were saying maybe a handful of brokerages to almost 1,000 companies today that we support, hundreds of thousands of real estate agents and transactions across the country.
I think MPS is 101, by the way.
So what I thought
So somebody gave you, a few of them gave you 11 actually on the
Right,
pad scale.
yeah.
I see.
so what I thought would be useful is sharing some case studies. So we'll share this with you guys afterwards. But I have one for real estate, just because that's the industry we're primarily in. I have one around healthcare, and I have one around retail for home furnishing. So, and as an example, Howard Hanna is one of the largest real estate brokerages in the country that's family owned. So they're not a franchise, and they grew a lot of what they did by recruiting new real estate agents all around this idea of that Net Promoter Score survey. How did her agent do a good job with your folks? And they use that to recruit the right type of agents.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about in your business, you want to bring employees that have the same values, that speak about your business the same way and deliver this consistent service. That's what they were able to do, and over almost a generation and a half become one of the largest real estate companies in the country. And they built it into their DNA of their company. So think of like company culture is really important, right? If you're able to build that follow.
We power their award system, so usually in real estate, you get recognized on the number of sales, the volume, that's like the traditional thing. We brought another set of data, like, hey, we can actually rate people on like the quality of service. So they have this whole culture around service. They call it the Green Penguin Award, I think is what they call it. So it's a thing for like 10,000 agents in there.
Yeah. And those guys are based in northern Ohio, like Cleveland, all the way down to Pennsylvania, all the way over to New York. So they've got basically a whole region. We also did a case study around Baptist eye surgeons. They're out of Tennessee. They do eye surgeries for folks, right? There's an aging population. We worked with their EMR system and then their marketing team, and their goal was, how can we improve the amount of appointments we're going to get for eye surgery? And so they were able to incorporate this user-generated content in specific places. So placement of reviews next to the bio of the doctor that I may be seeing to get my eye surgery done, which my mom's getting hers done this week. They were able to improve those appointments by about 30%. And so whenever you're putting this content next to a call to action, like schedule an appointment, really important. So as you start thinking about your process of how can I get feedback consistently, how can I measure and improve, they were able to do that, along with doubling the web traffic. So if there's plugins that are out there for your website, depending on what web platform you're using, but there's ways to structure this so that Google recognizes that as a review. Backpack Furniture is our largest furniture or home furnishings company. They're a family-owned business. They're brick and mortar, right? You guys have seen a lot change over by the past 10 years.
And they used to sell everything.
They sold everything.
One roof.
Yeah, and they were, family-owned business out in rural Florida, right?
Yeah.
And they saw that things were changing. People were buying things on Amazon. People were buying on mobile. And so they had to transform their business to be able to deliver a consistent experience, not just in the store with their franchises, but also online. And so they're attracting a younger demographic. And in their first year launching the e-commerce site, they bumped their online sale about 40%. They focused on Google My Business for their locations as well. So through COVID, they didn't have a downturn because the e-commerce made up the difference of them having to close stores. So I thought that was pretty impressive, considering that they're what you'd kind of call like a brick and mortar business, right? And furniture's kind of, or you can buy furniture almost anywhere. But they had a lot of great service and a lot of great stories that helped them do that. And they've grown into a retailer of just Florida all the way up through to like I think North Carolina now, all the way to Tennessee. So they're a regional player. I think they're in top 10 now. Some takeaways I would say, I know we've kind of gone high level a little bit around how testimonials are used, but there's some things you can use, not just for marketing and for sales. If you think about how can I leverage some of these stories to get other like customers. So I'll use our business as an example. we got feedback from our customers in a certain category, let's call it coal banker as an example. We tried to find out what made them happy, what made us memorable compared to other types of services that are very similar. And for us, it was integrations with their systems, the training, having a relationship with a person. No matter what business you're in today, it's all about relationships and service. If you just do those two things, you'll have a business. Just because we're so used to not getting service nowadays, right? So that really propelled that marketing from other people, and they brought us inbound leads, helped to reduce our cost of acquisition of a customer. We also incorporate those things into our sales presentations. So if we're selling into somebody that's a mortgage lender, we show them testimonials from a mortgage lender or somebody in their region. And so, so that way they can know, like, and trust us. In the beginning, it was really hard, right? We didn't have customers in Babcock's. We didn't have retailers. We didn't have healthcare organizations, right? So the first couple of customers were really hard. Jason, you want to talk a little bit about maybe incorporating customer in the feedback, the culture?
Yeah, I mean, so there's not really a stated formula for it, but what I see is, like I said, the companies that put these things on a pedestal, in my mind, this is what really matters. So, like, in real estate, for example, like, you can sell a house, you get a paycheck, but in the business of serving another person, like, if someone takes time to recognize what you did, they have to relive the experience, write down what they remember, and then you get that. It's almost like a gift. It's almost like, it's little snowflakes. Even if you do nothing with it marketing-wise, put it in your pocket, it gives you confidence, because now you know, hey, I did something cool, I helped somebody else out. But I'd say, like, companies that integrate with the culture. So, for example, in real estate, when you have a hierarchy, the manager will then pat the agent on the back, say, hey, great job, and they take time to recognize the work they did, and then up the food chain. Award systems are huge. There's many different stories, I would say, that I could tell you about just the meaning of this kind of content. Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know what kind of businesses you guys, do you guys have businesses now, or are you thinking about starting businesses? Is this?
They do have businesses
Okay.
already. Yeah.
Okay. So do you guys get testimonials now, right, in your businesses?
Mm-hmm.
How do you have Google Business Profile set up for your businesses?
Yeah.
You do? Okay, cool. That's one thing. I did an audit recently on Google Business Profiles on our customers. So we have this elevated API access into Google. So let's say there was 10,000 agents. I was able to audit that to see, within some level of accuracy, do they have a profile set up? And it's roughly like 90% of agents do not have it set up. So then I took that data set and then I married it with the number of transactions that they had. And what I found, depends on different brokerages, but let's say the people that had Google Business Profile set up sold twice as many things as people that did not. And I don't know if you can argue causality on that, but like it just showed you like.
Well, correlation for sure,
Yeah.
not necessarily causality.
Yeah, so, but just really important. So no matter what your business is, you're gonna have probably some sort of sales funnel, and this stuff can help on the front end of the funnel, where it's like, up here, it can help with recruiting, part of culture, and then in the back end, it's like a feedback loop. You get the story at the end, and you kind of feed it back into the machine again. So across the board, they're super helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I think of some things I got like in the mail recently. That you guys mentioned some service businesses, right? Like home service business. There was a testimonial from a neighbor in my neighborhood on this flyer about the folks that were doing like the power washing and something. And so that made you instantly trust that they were doing a good job, because I could really validate with my neighbor that's down the street, right? And so when you think about those type of campaigns that you can do, reach outs you can do, those things are really useful. We thought we'd give you some leave behinds. These are from different places. It's got links in there from different things, ways you can incorporate it into your PR, how you're building out your customer journey and your customer experience.
This presentation will be attached in Google Classroom as well, so you will get this. But one quick question is, so it's a real estate business, cleaning business, car washing, vodka, exercise, training, background check, and accounting services. So how do they, or should they, incorporate? They are not big companies, they are small companies. Most of them are on their own, maybe some employees. But how do they incorporate? What should they do? How do they start
Let
to
me-
incorporate testimonials?
I'll take the first part of that and you can chime in. But there's something called reciprocity that happens.
Oh my gosh, I keep hearing that word.
Do you?
Oh
Okay,
my
right,
goodness.
reciprocity. So I think it's Robert Cialdi. How do you say his name?
That
Cialdi, I
word,
don't know.
that word,
Uh,
that word.
So the embodiment of that is like, you ever get like, I'm trying to think, like at Christmas time maybe, some of your friends get you a gift and you don't get them something, like you feel really bad, like, you know what I mean? Or I sold that $4.5 million house, that customer bought me, I showed up at my house one day, I had a cooler full of steaks. I'm like, dude, I just made a bunch of money, like I don't really need to. But anyway, so there's a time frame when, like in real estate, there's a euphoric sort of period after you close, like man, you're so excited to get a new house. There's a window where if you ask for something, you're gonna get it, pretty much. So what I normally did when I was selling real estate was, hey Jane, I hope you liked I hope you like your new house, your move was cool, your kids like the new school, make sure they're happy. Then I would say, hey, would you mind giving me a testimonial? He's for my marketing and things like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, no problem. I'm gonna send you a link to a system I use, super simple. It's gonna ask for a testimonial. It's gonna prompt you to share it, like my Facebook page. If you don't feel like you have to do it, but if you don't mind doing it, I appreciate it. That kind of thing. So if you get them to verbally commit, if you can do that in your business, then that's like.
And that's what I would like, because we do Groupon. So
Yeah.
Groupon's great because a lot of people pick us because of our reviews and the things
Right.
people say. But I wanted to figure out how to get that type of survey with regular people, like the guy did yesterday.
Uh-huh.
He took a picture of me. He's like, "Let me take your picture. I'm so
Right.
happy." But how do I put that? I want to have something that's simple.
Right.
I could send it to somebody and they'll just make it easy and they post it
Yeah.
on my social media, or it gets to me where I can post it on there.
This isn't a sales pitch, but if you want to sign up, you're welcome.
Well, you guys mentioned a lot of folks are using Google My Business, so there's a few things that are out there that are free.
Right.
You've got that link. A lot of times there's, I don't know if anybody's familiar with the application called Canva. It's like a way to kind of drag and drop and create collateral and business cards and design. You can create a QR code that you can share with customers, put on a business card,
Okay.
leave behind. If you're using an email system or a text message,
Mm-hmm.
you can just build a template with the
Okay.
links to it.
Yeah.
The big thing is incorporating it into your process.
Right.
So I'll use it as an example. You're meeting with a client and maybe you're setting an expectation up front. Hey, the best thing I can do if I deliver great service to you is that you give me a review. It helps other people learn about my business and spread the word. Would you help me do that if I deliver on expectations? And then once you get to the end, they know it's coming.
And I always send them a text and thank them for choosing us, our business. And if there was anything, especially if they're not home, because a lot of them won't be home.
Yep.
Was there anything we didn't do? Did we miss anything? I'll come back and fix it.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, and so I do send them a follow-up text.
Perfect.
But they don't do you give them the link?
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah, maybe just embed that link, right?
That's the link.
Yeah, I need that link thing.
Yeah, and there's
So
a
you
couple ways you can do
incorporate
that too, right? There's some free things like in SurveyMonkey, you can create surveys. It could be that thank you note has, write me a review on one of my review sites, right?
Okay.
And I encourage you guys in your business, look at that Google My Business, what's the category that you're in? And then search that in a browser. They call it like an incognito search in like Chrome, Google Chrome. And find out what's coming up for you.
Right.
And then those are the sites that you want to focus on.
Okay.
Typically it's Google My Business, maybe it's Facebook.
Yeah.
If you're using Groupon, it sounds like you're already building a reputation there.
Right.
Or some other places I think people are going to come from. Maybe it's certain marketing sites. Like in certain industries, they have industry-specific directory profiles. And so if you think of those places and you just programmatically go through one place, build a reputation in that bucket.
Because Yelp does that very well. You go to a
Yelp does
restaurant and they make you check in, and it's usually through a Yelp. And then once you leave, they know you checked out,
Yeah.
and then they're like binging your phone. How was your experience?
Right.
Yeah, Yelp's really good, depending on which geography you're in and what category you're in. If you're a location-based business too,
Right.
that if people are using your Wi-Fi at your place of business too, Google will tend to if you're trying to drive people to use maps to get to your place, Google will actually automatically ask for a review after they've left. So there are some things, but you want to be more proactive. Like Jason said, it's when's the glow period of your customer?
Right after you do it.
Right after you've delivered service, right after you receive the product, right after you've done whatever you're delivering to them. And so they feel obligated to reciprocate. And then the other part is just building a process, right? If you have one reach out, make sure you have reminders if they don't action it. Maybe 2 to 3 times. We've tested it before. We tried doing 5 and it was a little too much. So typically 3 touches is pretty good. Spread them out a couple times.
If you can automate it, it's the best. That's why in real estate, that's why it works. Is agents just want to go to houses, and so when something closes, it just automatically happens with integrations with all the transaction systems that are out there. So think about your software that you use that's like a daily using thing. If there's a way to like make it, even like Salesforce or anything, there's ways you can like trigger things based on certain things that happen. That's the ideal situation because then you don't have to think about it. It just happens without. It's more consistent that way.
So you guys, your particular software, you are integrating with other like CRM softwares?
Yeah.
So- Because that could be the automation based on that.
Yeah. For us, what we do is we integrate with transaction systems that are out there. So it might be EMRs or real estate transaction systems. So
Point of sale.
if you go to radiology regional here, we power them too. So we integrate with whatever it is system they
Their
use,
system, yeah.
Athene or something.
IBM.
So we trigger it right after that. And
So
we
when a
have-
customer checks out,
Mhm.
your system automatically gets triggered?
Yeah,
That's how it
the
works?
next day. I
Yeah,
think
text
is
and email go out, and then there's 2 to 3 reminders.
Mhm.
But they also do the person stuff too. So I know tech is the really easy way, right? Because it's going to be a process that'll automatically be done, text and email. But they also do that in-person stuff. They talk about it, then they have it in their checkout papers. They've got a QR code talking about it. So you definitely want to reinforce it a couple different ways, and that'll improve the.
So how much time after you provide a service and you did a great job, you met those expectations, how much time do you have? What is that window of opportunity when you can send it out and the most likely that you are actually getting a review? What is that? How would you define that?
Yeah, I would say we tend to do things within a week
Mhm.
in the industries that we're in. So like as an example, somebody gets delivered furniture, it's been delivered, it's been done within that week. If it's a house, right, they're gonna be moving soon before it gets chaotic, so within a couple days of closing. But tend to be within, the closer you are to the sale, the more likely, one, they're gonna give you better feedback, because it's gonna be fresh in their mind. And then also you're not coming out of left field. A nice thing is it's also a good follow-up, right, to make sure that you have that personal message saying, hey, I care about the service that you received. I want to make sure you're giving feedback. So even if they didn't leave you a review, the fact that you asked makes a huge difference for building loyalty with your customer base
And trust.
and
Yes.
trust. And then some of these other things we get included in here, these are a lot of like consulting companies that create all these great case studies and things like that. They're in a variety of industries, but we took a lot of this stuff and then kind of incorporated it in our business. That's kind of how we try to grow.
So-
word of mouth.
So what happens if the review is not a 5, but a 4 or less? What should they do regarding that?
Well, in any case, you should, let's say it's Google, you get a review on Google, you should always reply. If it's good, say thank them, whatever. Because that's there's some stats around that. The more you reply and the more recent the reviews are, the better it is for conversion rates. So if it's negative, never try to argue on the internet. Just try to take it offline usually. Like, hey, sorry to hear that. We'd be happy to fix it here. Call us here or we'll reach out to you. Never try to be combative online. But in theory, there might be it depends on the workflow, there might be other ways you might be able to avoid. In certain respects, you get send an email in our system saying, hey, we'd love to get a review from you. If you're not happy, click this link down here and we'll get back to you immediately. So more of a customer service angle on it. But you can't be scared of negative stuff. There's always gonna be somebody that's gonna be unhappy. The real goal is to get an insurance policy, meaning if you have 100 reviews on Google, one negative, one doesn't matter that much, really. So, it's only when you have a few or none, that's scary because then you're like, one review can crush you.
Because you always gonna have one person, you never have.
No one's,
Well, the case study with the eye doctors, right? You wouldn't expect a doctor to call you back. They actually incorporated to where if they got a negative, like 3-star or less, that doctor actually called the patient within one day.
Oh, wow.
And they followed up and say, hey, I really apologize. How can we make it better? And they rescheduled them for something at the wait time. There's a lot of those things that happen when you go to the doctor. You really
There's only been one instance I can think of, and we didn't talk about this, but I think we had a doctor years ago where they would not get above 4 stars. I mean, they must not have been doing something right. Like, they must not have been bad bedside manner or something. Like, I'm like, dude, if you're not good, I can't really help you get
good.
Well, that's a really important thing, right? If they take the feedback and improve the process,
Right.
improve the experience, that's really what you're trying to use as a mechanism
Right.
to improve for the next person, right?
And do you have some mechanism where if you fix it, they can change their reviews?
Yeah, there's the folks they can actually change a review if they've
Yeah.
left a yellow
Yeah, I mean,
review. They can always update it, and a lot of times people will, if you followed up with them and they ask for it, you're more likely to get them to update it. And most people don't want to trash your business to put you out of business. Most people are just like, hey, I just want to be heard. So the more you can give them mechanisms to be heard, they're less likely to go trash it other places.
So-
So that's kind of another reason why.
Regarding these testimonials, how can you use them besides just showing the testimonial? Can you use the testimonial in some of your marketing content or messaging based on that?
Yeah.
How would you do that? What would you recommend?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, any marketing for sure. And by the way, there's most of what we do is textual, but also I'll mention there's video. I mean, so video is actually what we're doing more of now. So, and not just on, asking with emails and texts. If you're with a customer, I've done this where you can do a selfie almost with them and have a video and say, hey, tell me what you think about whatever. There's all kinds of ways you can do it. It depends on your company and how so. But also, I think one other place you can use them, besides the review section of Google, for example, is there's a Google post. So in theory, there's a post to Google like several times a week for SEO reasons. So you can make images out of these things, put them on social media, Instagram. You can post them as a post on Google. Any kind of marketing for sure. I've been in offices where they'll have a TV screen just rotating them. So it depends if you have employees or whatever, it's part of your culture. So that's who we are. So people. So it's not really any limit. You see them on billboards. I mean, TV
Yeah, for us, we're selling software, right, and it's business to business, so a lot of times they want to validate that customer is happy. And so in our presentations at the end, we'll walk through, here's the people that are customers. They're in their networks, so a lot of times they use like a thing like Slack, or they use like a messenger app, and they're in their Facebook groups. Hey, are you using this? What do you think of it? And that's really our goal, right, is to make those people happy. I can sell them all day long, but if they don't believe me or trust me, they're probably not going to come aboard. And so by having that social proof that they can go validate that the customers are happy, it cuts your sales cycle down quite a bit. And in different types of businesses, it can be used different ways. But I put them in all of our sales presentations. We just mentioned social posts. Right? If I'm a home service business, maybe I want to tag the neighborhood of where it's at, tag the customer, and then let them share it. That really helps kind of get a little bit of more viral growth. So yeah, anything you can do to make it easy for people, that tends to be the.
Regarding testimonials, do customers use testimonials to refine their customer persona or the targeted customer they are going after? Do they use testimonials for that?
Yeah, we have folks that one is they use it in performance for their salespeople. If they are consistently not doing well in a certain area, they use it for training. They use it for recruiting. So hey, these people culturally are not delivering the level of service. Let's get them out. Let's get the right people in there to uphold our brand. Right, nothing more important than the brand that you're building. And then there's lots of ways that they use it from anything from the employees' experience.
We have a lot of room to improve on our side of because we have tons of data, but there's especially with AI now, I'm sure there's a lot
That's
more.
what I was thinking, the keywords
The
coming
sentiment,
out of testimonials,
Yeah.
based on that one, you create a better customer persona to target.
Yeah.
Do you
We
that,
have-
or
so-
do customers do that?
We have companies that pull our data to BI tools, and they might do it, but we don't have in-app. So an example might be, maybe we find out, well, this dude, first-time home buyer, we crushing these guys. They love us. We're doing something right. So that might be a cohort. Let's focus more on that. We're really profitable.
Exactly, those kind of clusters or
Right.
cohorts create a new segment.
I think I don't know for sure, but I think Radiology Regional may do more of that because they did credit us during COVID for only being off 1% of their revenue because they were able to listen really quickly. And at the time, we did a little bit of analysis, and about 10% this testimonials came in, mentioned COVID in some fashion, like virus or whatever. So it was things like, you know, so it's different kind of testimonial or feedback then, because it's almost like life-threatening then. It's not like, hey, I didn't like the service. It was like I was scared. Like, hey, he shook my hand without a glove on, or they get a pen without, you know, not was a used pen. Like they're like, so they were quickly able to adapt these little tiny nuances.
That's very important feedback.
Yeah. So they were like big fans of, dude, we every week we met about this stuff and read them and we learned and we adapted. So that's not exactly the same thing, but
yeah, but you know, those are important. That's a feedback that you can improve.
Well, that is because I had a customer, because like I said, I was texting follow up, so she wasn't home when I cleaned her house. And so I texted her later and said, you know, was everything okay when you got home? Oh, she let me have it.
oh yeah.
I didn't clean one toilet inside the bowl.
What?
Nothing happened, but everything else is clean. And then she said, and last time you came, you bleached up my towel. And I couldn't remember bleaching my towel, but I used her products to clean the bathroom. So a little bit must have hit the towel. So I said, okay, I'm so sorry. And you know what I did? I was way across town. I drove straight to her house. I refunded her money, and she was like, no, she wouldn't take it.
Oh.
She said, I didn't mean it like that. I am so sorry. She said, you know, forgive me. I had a bad day at work, da.
That's amazing.
You know, and I said, no, if you're not happy, I don't want you to pay for a service. She said, but you did all this work.
That's amazing.
But it
That's
made her
amazing.
think about,
Yeah.
you know, just one little minor thing was off.
Yeah. Well, I would ask you, but in general, I learned this in some other industries we're in, but customers that have an issue that you're able to fix are more loyal.
Yeah, oh yeah, she called me every month.
Yeah, because now you get a chance to show another side of you. Because if you just deliver that service every time, they don't know that you don't care that much. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing I mentioned too about testimonials, because it's really just a story, is, you know, that's the bar now. So let's say in real estate, people buy a house every 8 years. If they say, hey, you were so responsive, blah blah blah, you better be responsive next time, because that's what they remember. Like, you know what I mean? So that's the other thing. That's what this level of service that you've already delivered. Like you can't really go below that anymore, else you know, it's not as good an experience. We've all had that where you go in, man, the service was great. You go next time, like, dude, that wasn't as good. You know what I mean? Because you're up here already.
Yeah. So what other questions? Anyone? Any questions?
Do you have that? You have the information on how you get the survey? Okay, make sure you have that. I want to be able to send it out with my texts.
Yeah.
Just have a link so they can.
Cool. We'll hook you up. We'll have like the Peter coupon. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else? Any questions to Jason and Brian? Anything regarding your business?
So I hear you guys say a lot about healthcare and real estate. Is there any other businesses that you help? Like, for example, I do fitness. Like, is there any other type of business you help?
You know, I don't know if we did. So I actually talked with one of the founders of Orange Theory one time. But so there's definitely like an opportunity there. Pretty much anything testimonials can work for. In real life, there's like service-based stuff, and then there's like products. Basically, we do a little bit of product with like Badcock. Mostly with services, and I think fitness might be in the world of like service, like, you know what I mean? So the question would be when to ask, like that's like insurance, another one, like do you ask after a claim, or do you just ask because normally you don't have claims, like, so it's like, do you just do it once a year? So it's really kind of figuring out when's the best time, maybe after they do some kind of session, or like they hit some goal or something, that I don't know, but yeah, I mean.
Yeah, for that especially, and we're a relatively smaller company. There's a lot of companies like us in all these different verticals and service categories, and so everybody has their area of expertise. Like I think you mentioned, you did like taxes and accounting. Like when you find something that's very specific to that industry, then they know how to customize it for that one, right? And they know the nuances, and that's kind of why we've been able to grow in the certain verticals that we've been in. Not to say we can't do any vertical, but it's just the more deep we can go in, and then we're able to really prescribe it. So yeah, I'll take a look at the providers that are in that space, and there's probably some folks that have already kind of worked that out.
You can find us on LinkedIn too. My email is Jason at Testimonial Tree if you need any help. I know how hard it is to be an entrepreneur and how crazy it is. Like, so like if you ever need encouragement or like moral support, like I might need it myself. So we're here for you guys. So
Any other questions? Anybody else?
Is it okay?
Yes, go ahead.
I missed everything, so I apologize.
It was,
for
I mean,
being
I'm
late.
not gonna ask for testimonials on this
Yeah.
speech.
Yes, yes.
My son had wrestling and they didn't come out when I expected, but
That's right.
they're awesome kids, so. Anyway, I have, a social service enterprise and it's for reducing recidivism. I think, as I'm listening, I got a gist of, I was able to summarize most of what you're talking about. Would after every event, like I did an event this weekend, and I would like to know, like, I figured that's a great way. So this is surveys, people I worked with,
Yeah.
people who attended,
Yeah.
sending that out.
Ask.
Cause it's not always that I have like a client situation. I don't know how often it'd be good to send out to my coaching and consulting family how I'm doing, cause I am curious a lot, cause the communication changes and I get really weird. And I do feel like I need to have a communication
Right.
policy, but, yeah, so what do you think about that?
100%.
Like,
A
frequency?
couple of things there. Technically, the way we do it is we will just technically we do a block. So we do one request, 3 reminders. If that same person has another transaction, goes to the radiology again within 30 days or so, we don't ask them again. We just don't ask them every single time because it gets kind of redundant. That might be wrong for them actually. I don't know.
No, yeah, I think you're right. There's certain, like, after an event would be a good time, right? And then tends to be like as an example, you mentioned insurance. They do it like after they've renewed or before they renew, like 90 days before renewal's coming up, are they gonna renew? And they'll help on that stuff. So there's different ways. I think every business, you kind of know when your customers are, where's that friction point, right? It's where there's exchange of money, if you're doing a renewal, or have I done a service? So I think of like property management folks tend to get a lot of negative feedback, right? It's like they're managing properties, they're servicing, maybe he had a toilet leak, whatever. Those people tend to complain a lot, and so when they do theirs, they do it with their tenants right before lease renewal, and they'll know pretty close, like, are they gonna renew or not for leases?
Oh,
every
so it's a
insurance-
measurement tool basically.
Yeah, these are the measurement.
Because the testimonials are they're not that good,
Yeah.
but it's a measurement of
Yeah.
how many will renew. Okay.
Yeah, because like you said,
That's-
the touch point right before
Interesting,
the
yeah.
renewal comes up,
Yep.
right? If something's a renewal business,
Yep.
it tends to be a good spot.
Yeah, yeah.
Every business is a little different, and you'll find too. There's some stuff you'll research online for your own initiative.
I know for us, it's just expectation wise, like I want to say the average completion rate in our system is like 35%. So a survey goes out and it comes back in, average 35. I have companies that are like north of 60%. It really depends on how you ask and culture, just stuff like that. So you'll find a sweet spot. So in your business, I don't know exactly. So maybe something you have a group and you're doing something. There may be a sweet spot of like, or maybe you just ask when you're.
And now it's like fundraising and awareness,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
fundraising and awareness.
Just if you make it known that it's important to you, like that's what people see, and it's the right time, they will be more likely to do it. You know what I mean? But don't expect it every time. So don't get your feelings hurt if they don't do it. It's people get busy or whatever.
But like you said, you tell them, and then they're
Yeah.
expecting
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So when they get it, oh yeah, she did say she was gonna send me.
Yeah.
a
It's like I
survey
can't remember
or-
the study. It's like I want to say it's like 80-something% of people say
They'll
they
do it.
will do it, but only like 10% of people are asked. So the asking is like most of it.
Yeah, the more you can systematize the ask and the reminders, regardless of whatever tool you're using. The other part is just the timing, right? The timing of when you ask, and then
But that's interesting, that 80% would be willing to, but only 10% is asked.
Right.
So,
a lot of
for
people
everyone,
do it. Yeah.
You should ask your
All the time.
clientele,
Yeah.
because they are more willing than what you think.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's less of a bother than what you think.
Just
that's
try
an
it.
interesting statistic.
You'll figure out it's some of it's kind of like there's a fear behind asking for testimonial or just at a review. If you just keep doing it, you'll figure it out. There's a way to do it that'll fit for you. That makes sense. You know what I mean?
What's the difference between this and like forms?
Just a
Google
regular
Forms?
form.
Google Forms, because it
Yeah,
collects
you
the
can do-
data.
You can use it for survey part. Yeah,
No,
you
I
do
know,
survey.
Is this not that? It's not similar to that?
It's fairly similar. So in our platform, as an example, we have a Survey Monkey kind of builder in there.
Okay.
And then we also have a thing where we're pulling in existing reviews from different review sites like Google and Facebook or whatnot. And then we have a social image generator, which is kind of like a Canva, if you're familiar with that, and that's for sharing
Oh,
on
that's
social
nice.
media. So we have a lot of stuff built in, and for companies, the reason why they use us, since they use all these different apps, is that we automate everything.
Everything's
Yeah,
in
once you
there. That's
integrate
what I like.
everything,
Yeah, you have
automate and
hundreds of
integrate,
locations, you
yeah.
have thousands of agents.
So it's
yeah.
basically click and then all
Yeah.
that is gets
Yeah.
done.
Cause I find forms hard to do, it's a lot of work.
It
Like,
is,
you gotta
I've
do
used
it
them
all
before
in
too.
yourself,
So
yeah.
the reason we work is we integrate with their transaction system or POS or whatever, so it automates all the feedback requests. It integrates with their website automatically. We can generate reviews
nice.
on Google. Usually for these companies, there's like a hierarchical thing. So like the Howard Hanna, they have 12,000 agents, and they have corporate, states, regions, offices, agents, sometimes teams. If I'm the manager of Southeast Ohio, I can log in and see all my data below me. So it's operational insights and like what's going on. At the high level, I can just quickly see, okay, what regions or offices are doing good or bad. So there's operational things you can do. You can use it for training. So real estate, they'll meet with an agent every year at least and say, hey, let's do some business planning. They'll read these things and say, okay, it looks like you're really good at this. Hey, let's work on negotiation, because no one mentions negotiation. You know what I mean? There's always room for improvement. So you can use a form for you guys. It might work just as a form, but as you expand, the automation and the other things would be why we come in.
I just went to my doctors and tell me, are you seeing more of this? And, for my annual checkup, and so of course I got that survey. But it was I'm ADHD, so I'm giving too much, so like 3 quick questions, and it was about her.
Yeah.
And then the next question, do you mind taking a few more minutes to answer some more?
Yeah.
And I say yes or no.
Mhm.
If I say no, it's over
It's
with.
over, yeah.
But when I say yes, then they ask me about the office, the front
Yeah.
girl,
Yeah.
was it clean,
Huh.
the environment. And so I was able to rate all those things,
Yeah.
so they got more data. Are you seeing more companies kind of doing it two-part like that?
Yeah, but in healthcare specifically, like there's survey companies like us that do kind of the short format surveys.
Yeah.
And then there's some that are industry specific, and that actually has to do with the way they get reimbursed for insurance, for health, Medicare, Medicaid, like all these different things. Like we shared that ophthalmology guys, the eye surgeons as an example. There's $200,000, $300,000 a year per doctor they're getting reimbursed. If they just do a survey, they have a system that follows up with patients for education. So a lot of times when you visit the doctor, it's like, why are they giving me papers? Why are they asking for a survey? A lot of it has to do because they're gonna get reimbursed.
Wow.
And
The
that way
government sort of.
the government stuff
regulation.
too. So like when I go to my doctor, same thing, because I'm using insurance, they're gonna shoot me that long, and sometimes it's a really long survey, and you're like, oh my god, it's too long. But yeah, there's some of these things are actually, in certain industries, are required to do it, as part of the requirements.
Yeah, even with the insurance, when I'm buying insurance, they ask you a lot of safety questions.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And do you have these policies in place for your customers
Yeah.
or your business, and that helps a
Yeah.
lot.
yeah. Yeah, we had to go through like security compliance and stuff, it's like,
Mhm.
Very
yeah.
good.
Well, thank
Okay,
you so much.
please, go
You
ahead.
keep mentioning ophthalmologists and surgeons. I just came from the eye.
Oh, did
So you might want to contact my doc, Dr. Quinn. I'll give you his name after. And you
Perfect.
could
Yeah.
utilize it. He could utilize it for
Heck
this.
yeah.
Love it. Thank you.
That would be great. Yeah, we have a lot, it's cool that down here, the collaboration between a lot of companies, that's how we got in that space, is our friend started an EMR system, which is what they use for eye doctors. It's right here in Bonita Springs. And when we got funded, we're like, hey, we need something outside of real estate. And they were like, hey, we have these eye doctors, and there's this thing that they have to do to get reimbursed. And that's kind of how we got into
So
that.
they are motivated
So you're
additionally.
talking about the whole, pain pill versus
Yeah.
the vitamin.
Vitamin.
The vitamin, we're banging our head against the wall trying to get people to sign up like, hey, you're gonna, the marketing value of it, the doctors didn't care, but as soon as they had to do it reimbursement, they're like,
Yeah.
okay, now sign me up, right?
Yeah.
So you'll find it.
We went through different verticals, so we did veterinary first, or dentist, I think, and it was like, that was okay.
The
The
veterinarians
ophthalmology,
really
like the veterinarians were all like in Birkenstocks and flannels and stuff, and they were like, it was cool, they're like, hey, how you doing? And then you get to ophthalmology, everyone's got a black suit on, and it's like really
And we're
big. I
fancy
mean,
to the.
so we were selling stuff a lot faster.
Look at that. We talked about experimenting.
Oh, wow.
They had to experiment with all those different things until they found
Until we found
the
something that
painkiller
worked.
The painkiller.
type of customer
Yeah.
segment instead
Yeah.
of a vitamin.
Yeah.
Those other was vitamin. Yeah, it would be great, but not a big deal. Oh,
As soon as we
ophthalmologists
found the
are getting
surgery-
$200,000-$300,000.
back?
Yeah.
My gosh, that's a pain.
Yeah.
And they would literally sign up and then we get it going at the event. Like
Yeah.
they would start, because they were so busy, what I didn't know is ophthalmologists can make like $2 million a year, where a veterinarian makes like 200,000-300,000. Like that's a whole different plan. I didn't even think about that. The media was doctors. Like, you know what I mean?
I didn't realize, surgery.
They're so busy. They're like,
Yeah,
dude, okay, cool. Next. Like
Yeah.
they don't.
They don't care, they just write it up.
Yeah,
You know
exactly.
what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think
Well,
so
for
crazy.
For the record, since they're going to get that much money back, hopefully they will refer their staff to me. So let me put it for the record. Dr. Quinn,
I love it.
All right.
Dr. Quinn and Dr. Azizi.
Very good. Thank you much, guys.
Thank
you so much.
Thank
That was
you.
great.
Thanks for coming in.
Enjoyed it.
Giving us all this great information.
Yes, we enjoyed
Great.
it.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome,
Thank you.
awesome. Great
congrats to the
job.
businesses.
Thank you.